Today we're going to talk about the metric system. So the things that we measure in the world and in science class are the weight, the length, and the volume of things. The English system of measurement is what we use in our daily life. We usually measure our weight as an ounce or pound, length, inches, feet, yard, or mile. Volume is measured as a fluid ounce, a quart, or a gallon. So we don't really use this in science class because there's an inconsistency as we move from a larger to a smaller unit and vice versa. For example, 1 foot is 12 inches, 1 yard is 3 feet, and 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So it would take quite a bit of math to determine how many inches are in 1 mile. So at some point you're just would have to memorize these units because there's really no easy pattern. The metric system's much easier. Weight will always be measured in grams, length will always be measured in meters, and volume is always measured in liters. So as we move from a smaller to a larger measurement, or vice versa, you just change that prefix. So what we will do is learn those prefixes first. So recall that our base unit will always be the same for each unit of measurement. Gram will always be weight. Meter will always be length. Liter will always be volume. The acronym will tell us the unit of measure in the metric system. So the first thing I recommend you do is to memorize the acronym KISS HER daily because divorce costs money. Then we can take that acronym and apply our prefixes to it. So for KISS is kilo, HER is hecto, daily is deca, because is the base unit, the gram, the meter, or the liter. Deci is divorce, centi is cost, and milli is money. When we use the abbreviation for deca, we will use DA. When we use the abbreviation for deci, we will use D. So once you have memorized this proper order, then we move on to the math. The next thing you would memorize is the values for each of the prefixes. Start with base unit. The base unit will always be 1. As I move up from the base unit to a larger unit of measure, I will multiply times 10. So 1 times 10 is 10, 10 times 10 is 100, and 100 times 10 is 1,000. So let's take it all the way down to milli, because milli is 0.001. If I multiply 0.001 times 10, I get to centi, which is 0.01 or 100th. As I multiply times 10, I will move the decimal place over 1 position. So here we see that I have 0.001. As I move and multiply times 10, I would take that decimal and move it over 1 to the left. 0.01 times 10 will give us 0.1, and 0.1 will give us 10. The opposite is true as we take from a larger unit of measure and move down to a smaller unit. You will divide by 10. So 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. 100 divided by 10 is 10, and so on. So let's do some math problems on the board. So our first math problem is if I have 5 kilometers, how many meters is that? The first thing you need to do is to recall your acronym. KISS HER daily because divorce costs money. Now plug in what you already know. You know that you have 5 kilometers. As we move from a larger unit of measure to a smaller unit of measure, we will multiply times 10. So 5 times 10 is 50 for hectometers. 50 times 10 is 500 for 500 decameters. And I multiply 500 times 10 to get my base unit, which is meters, of 5,000 meters in 5 kilometers. Let's do another problem. Our next problem is if I have 8 milliliters How many deciliters is that? And remember, deci is just the D. Do our acronym. Kiss her daily because divorce costs money. I have 8 milliliters, so I put in the 8 at the milliliter. And when I move up, I'm going to move the decimal place over. So if I have 8 milliliters, I take this decimal point and move it over to the left one because I'm dividing by 10. And now I have 0.8 centiliters. If I want to know how many deciliters, I take that decimal place, move it over to the left one because I'm dividing by 10. I put in a 0, and that gives me 0.08 or 0.08 of deciliter. One more problem. If I have 25 grams, how many kilograms do I have? Put in our acronym, KISS HER daily, because divorce costs money. Plug in what you know. You know your base unit, which is grams, is 25. As I move up, I move my decimal place over 1 to the left because I'm dividing by 10. So 25, move it over 1. I have 2.5 decagrams. As I move up, I would have 2.5. I'm going to move it over to the left. I'm dividing by 10, so I get 0.025. Bring that up. Here's my decimal. Move it over 1 to the left because you're dividing by 10, and now I have 0.0025 kilograms.